They were interested at one point, right, George? Right? I mean, like, he's 100% true. They sent the thing off. They had to have some kind of interest, right? They wouldn't have done it. But what are they? What are they not interested? How would they know, right? Here's the thing. I used to say it's not true. I don't know. It may or may not be true, but the more important point is you as this person selling this person, right? Going through these objections, you can't take what they say as being true. I'm not saying they're lying, but you can't react based off of what you hear. That's a very important point that good scripted insurance salespeople do, setting appointments or getting through the first 30 seconds. You cannot believe what people say. Again, are they telling the truth? They could be, but they couldn't be. The only way to figure out if what they're saying is true is by rebutting it, challenging it, keep going. Because what'll happen a lot of the times, they'll say they're not interested. You'll do your rebuttal and they'll still book with you. And then they'll buy. But they said they weren't interested. Well, that's human beings for you, right? They tell you one thing and do another. Welcome to reality, right? But what if you keep going and say, I'm not interested, and they hang up the phone? Well, maybe they're true. Maybe it's true. I mean, I still don't even know if it's 100% true, but I've got more clarity if that it is than it was if I just hung up after they said I'm not interested, right? This all making sense, guys? I hope, hopefully, to me, this helps kind of like cement this. What you're speaking to when you're rebutting an objection is not what they say, it's the underlying fear they have about talking to somebody who's a salesperson, having a stranger in their house, whatever their deal is. Okay, that's what you're talking to. They may not even know it, but they react in a reactive way because they're taken off guard and everybody has this kind of like barrier up against being sold. So we're selling to that unspoken objection that they have against salespeople, and we're trying to relax that concern. That's why we don't sell the appointment. We say, no problem. All we need is 5 minutes to show you how it works. What you do with it's up to you. We're selling that unspoken fear of a salesperson pitching them, okay? And that's why it's critical that we respond that way, because that's more likely than not what they're really concerned with. What makes a successful agent? Like, we all know the formula, but it's the one that can follow that formula most consistently that's going to see the best results. And it's the consistency effort that's the hard thing. It's very simple to get into a business and do it for a couple of months. But to sustain that effort for years, that's the difference maker, right? It's going out there and doing 15 presentations a week if you're face-to-face for years. And then if you execute that process, if you execute that process for years, you're going to be miles ahead of the competition. It's the same thing in everything in life, fitness, right? Sports, the person that puts in the time and the effort, right? Even the more talented people who are lazy, they can be overcame, but it's that consistent application of effort that makes the difference. And that's more valuable. I think, training is important, script's important, all that stuff's important. But again, the difference maker is always going to be, how can I actually execute this strategy consistently for weeks, then months, then years on end? And that's where you're going to see those people who are successful and those who aren't. Sometimes you got to set it up to give them a reason why to go get it, right? This would be true face-to-face over the phone. So what do you have? Okay, you don't want to tell me, is it whole life term? Does the rates go up? Does it cancel? How much coverage exactly do you have? You may have to circle around and ask those questions to get them concerned, because like Melissa said, most of us been in the business, 90% of them don't know what they exactly have. And now you've kind of created that need to maybe go make sure. And you've showed your expertise asking really good questions. Like, is it a 2-year waiting period or not? Are you fully covered, et cetera? That those people and this is the thing, who are actually interested and engaged and are curious will go get the thing and then double check with you. So I look at it almost like it's a rapport or trust thing. If they won't get the policy, it's because they don't trust you and you haven't built sufficient rapport. Can you build sufficient? That's another question. Could you build sufficient rapport with that person? Some people very paranoid. Okay. That's not going to work all the time. But to me, when they won't do that, it's a trust issue. Another thing you can say to that is, hey, let me tell you why I'm asking. I work with a lot of different companies. And before I can help you make a choice on what the best option is, I got to know exactly what you have, because I don't want to waste your time or mine because you're in a situation that doesn't require this or doesn't make sense. So who do you have your coverage with? So push back a little bit. And the last thing I said, I have found, and people can put parlay their experience. If people won't give you that information, that is a trust issue. And if they won't give you that information, you know what else they're not going to give you? Your social, bank account, write the application up. Like, there's a lot of like that is a red flag that they're not bought in, they're not engaged, you're just kind of playing the game. You know, they just don't know how to hang up the phone, and you're going to probably waste a ton of time. And again, I hear about more of this being a problem with telesales because that's the issue with telesales. It's harder for prospects to trust because you're not there in person than it is with face-to-face. But it's still an issue. It is a trust issue. And that's probably why I like pushing back a little bit, because then it tells me if they're interested or not. Because again, I've listened to a lot of calls, heard from a lot of agents. Very, very, very few of them actually end up selling that with them holding the cards and not revealing their full circumstances.